When I say it's been a while that I've been invested in a ship between two people, I really mean it. In any series, especially when it comes to the romance genre, there's always going to be those two people that you want them to be together and you root for them and you hope for nothing but the best and you just simply want to see them happy. And that's exactly how I felt between Taiki and Hina, where these two really had good chemistry and a lot of the moments between just them really made Blue Blocks all the more enjoyable. Because if I'm being honest, the way Blue Blocks started at first, it started a little bit slow, but now I'm glad I watched it weekly because I really enjoyed how Blue Blocks was able to use the sports elements but also combine it with the romance element as well. As in this story, we see Taiki trying to get the girl that he's fallen for, this being Chinatsu. And obviously it's not something that can just happen just like that, and not to mention that Taiki also has to deal with his own struggles as well, him trying to be the best when it comes to badminton. So it's very obvious that Taiki not only has to balance his love life, but also has to balance his real life goals that he wants to accomplish. But once Hina gets involved in the story and she makes her appearance crystal clear, it becomes obvious that not only do we have to focus on the relationship between Chinatsu and Taiki, but the story also manages to make us care about the relationship between Taiki and Hina, because these two have had a lot of memories with each other, and due to their long history, it's no surprise that they're always comfortable talking to each other but also looking out for each other as well, as obviously Taiki and Hina aren't going to be perfect all the time, especially when it comes to them trying to be the best of the best in their sports activity. It's not always going to be easy, and they're always going to have to worry if they're going to be able to exceed people's expectations and prove to people that they are capable of being in the top. So it's really heartwarming to see that if they're having issues or at any point in their life they're feeling down, they'll have each other's back. But as the story progresses, obviously it starts to make it very clear that the relationship between her and Taiki means something more to her than he could ever imagine, and that's because Hina has feelings for Taiki. But the issue here isn't the fact that she can't admit that she has feelings for Taiki, it's the fact that she knows very well that Taiki has feelings for Chinatsu. And as you're watching all this unfold, you start to wonder if Hina's ever going to confess how she really feels about Taiki, or she's just going to bottle up and sigh, because the last thing she wants is to make her relationship between him and her change drastically once she reveals her true feelings for him. But as time continues, Hina's feelings for Taiki starts to become more harder to contain, as despite Taiki not being interested romantically to Hina, he does still care about her, and every little action he does, or sometimes the things he says, while it may not mean anything to Taiki, the opposite is with Hina, as everything he does or everything he says to her is something special, and it's something that she can't forget and doesn't want to forget, because for her, this is just another way for creating memories with the guy she loves. Sure, sometimes she has a habit of teasing him and trying to get a reaction out of him, but most of the time for her, this is just her way to show how much she really values Taiki, and just by her being around him whenever they can and whenever the chance is there, she is going to love every second of it. But obviously even Hina herself knows that it's now or never when it comes to confessing her feelings for Taiki, as no surprising, Taiki's and Chinatsu's relationship started to blossom into something else. And the more time Taiki and Chinatsu spent with each other, the more the relationship started to become even more closer than what it was. And Hina, seeing all this, realized that she has to take her chance, even if the possibility of her and him being together is very little. Because for Hina, it's better off taking that chance than for her to regret it later on, not confessing to Taiki how she truly felt about him. So when the moment came in which Hina and Taiki were all alone, Hina decided to finally let out her true feelings to Taiki, finally saying what she's been wanting to say all this time, finally telling him and making him realize that there was somebody else in the world that had special feelings for him. And while this moment was beautiful to see, it was also a moment that changed Hina's character direction quite drastically, as beforehand we only saw her as just somebody that was Taiki's friend, the girl that was hiding her feelings, the girl that we had no idea if she would ever confess, now becoming somebody that is pivotal to the story, because this not only changes the dynamic between the relationship from now on, but this also creates a new set of experiences not just for Hina but also for Taiki, as Taiki throughout all this, after he realizes that there is a girl who's interested in him but he's interested in somebody else, he now has to finally make a choice as to what he's planning on doing. Does he decide to go with the girl that he's known for such a long time and knows him very well and has always been supporting him and has always been by his side, or does he try and take a chance with the girl in which, while his feelings for her are concrete, for Chinatsu on the other hand, it's very unknown. While she doesn't mind Taiki and she's very clearly enjoying the time that she spends with him due to her focus on basketball and trying to be the very best, and romance and having a relationship not being her main focus, it makes Taiki question if it's really worth it. Is it really worth it risking it all just to see if hopefully Chinatsu has the same feelings as him, or be crushed to find out that Chinatsu doesn't see anything in him other than just him being a really good friend? And this becomes even more difficult to handle once Hina is open about her feelings right to his face, but also starts making certain actions and using certain words to fluster Taiki. It makes it more apparent that Hina is not holding back any longer. Her doing all this is a message sent to Taiki that she is not going to mess around any longer. She's not going to just sit and wait to see if Taiki falls for her. As for her, not only would this speed up the process, but also hopefully this will make Taiki realize that she shouldn't take her for granted and see her as a girl who truly is in love with him. But while all this is nice and all, this does create a few setbacks and a few issues for Hina. One of them being is that she's far too optimistic when it comes to Taiki's answer for her confession, as when the confession was happening, Hina made it very clear that she did not want an answer right away, as she knew herself that Taiki's relationship with Chinatsu was still something that he was focusing on, so she wanted to give him time to think of his answer rather than make him make a quick, uncertain decision. But by her doing this just made it even more complicated, as in reality she's just setting herself up for failure, as she knows that Taiki's feelings for Chinatsu are very strong, and these kind of feelings are not something that can just go away just like that. Romance is very complicated, and when somebody has very strong feelings for someone, those feelings don't fade away that quickly just because someone else is interested in them. And while Hina probably knew this, and she knew full well that there was a 50% chance that things may go her way, she decided to take it, and states that she doesn't plan on giving up anytime soon, as she's hopeful that maybe, just maybe, Taiki would choose her over Chinatsu, and doesn't plan on giving up anytime soon despite the long process that this is all taking. But while Hina may be fine with it, the case can't be said as well for Taiki, as due to him never being in this kind of situation before, this just makes it even more confusing for him and doesn't really know what is the right move to do. He does care about both of these girls, but he knows that not everybody involved is going to be happy. He does love Chinatsu, but he doesn't just want to throw Hina's feelings like they're nothing, because they too are just as important as his feelings for Chinatsu. So this leads to him being stuck in the middle, where he knows that no matter what direction he takes or what action he does, somebody is not going to have a happy ending, and nothing is truly ever going to be the same once he makes his decision. And when the time finally comes where Taiki feels like it's appropriate to give his response to Hina, this is where the heartbreak and the sadness kicks in, as due to him realizing again that Hina has no issues where things stand right now, with her still being around him despite not giving her an answer and not caring how long it takes, as long as she's right next to him. This is where Taiki realizes that he needs to take action quickly, because this is not going to be something that can last forever, and the more of this continues, the more things are going to get worse, and it's just going to hurt even more. So when Taiki is alone with Hina once again, this is where he finally tells Hina that they both can't be a thing. His eyes aren't on her, his eyes are on Chinatsu. And while Hina tries to still be positive, telling him that he shouldn't be rushing on his decision, he makes it clear that this is his final decision and that this is not going to be something that he's going to change, causing Hina to finally come to terms that her feelings weren't accepted and that she is not the girl that Taiki wants to be in a relationship with. She still is somebody he values, but he doesn't see her in that way, and this will cause Hina to be overcome with sadness, asking Taiki why would he make that decision if he knows full well right now that his relationship with Chinatsu is very uncertain. Why would he choose to go with a girl who probably doesn't have the same interests as him instead of going with the girl who has made it very obvious that he means everything to her and views him as the most important thing in her world. But this is where Taiki responds by saying that the way things are going is not healthy. He doesn't want to drag her any longer because that's the last thing he wants to do. He doesn't want to see Hina suffer any longer because he knows full well that she is suffering by making her still think that he and her could still be something else, when in reality that can't really happen if he doesn't love her back. And what makes this moment even more sadder is the fact that even before all this went down, Hina was wishfully thinking that if her and Taiki were a thing, just how much fun they could spend time with each other, all the memories they could create even more now that they are boyfriend and girlfriend, and just how being with him will be the best moments of her life. But that all came crashing down with Taiki's decision as to not accept her feeling. And just like how it was pointed out from the start, as soon as Taiki made his decision, things were never going to be the same as they were. After this, Taiki and Hina don't really talk to each other and they never have any kind of conversation after the rejection. And Hina, despite it already happening, she still is not able to come to terms with it because she's still heartbroken, she's still sad, she still is grieving over the fact that she lost. Even though she knew the fact of her and him becoming a thing was very low, she is still saddened over the fact that she took her chance but it didn't pay off at the end of the day. But things aren't easy as well when it comes to Taiki, as he will then get confronted when he is told that he's acting like nothing even happened, even though he hasn't seen just how many times Hina has cried because of all this. But the only thing Taiki could respond to this is by just simply saying that he knew this was bound to happen. He knew that this was going to be what was going to drastically shift the relationship between him and Hina. And while it may not seem that he's bothered by it, he in fact is. Hina wasn't just some random girl. For him, this was somebody that was always with him in his highs and lows. This was somebody that he always loved talking to. This was somebody that he never wanted to hurt. But now with all the things that have happened, he knows that even if this is not what he wanted, it already has happened and there's nothing that could change what he did in the decision that he ultimately decided to take. And that's why, while it may look harsh, that's the reason why he hasn't been talking to Hina, because he knows that even if they were to have a conversation, things are not going to go easy and it's going to be really awkward. So it's best that for now, both of them just go their separate ways and focus on their own things. Once everything has calmed down, maybe then they could have a proper conversation and maybe, just maybe, things could go to how things were. But for now, that is not possible and it's going to be a very slow process. But with Taiki now finally making his decision, he now focused on his relationship with Chinatsu, trying to now finally making it happen and to now finally make it something special. And that's how so far the story of Blue Blocks ends, and what a roller coaster it truly was. It really was something that was hard to watch when seeing Taiki reject Hina, but it just goes to show us that romance is something that is very complicated, and how despite somebody having feelings for someone, that someone may not have them back, and it's just devastating when you get rejected. And it's an experience that no one wants to ever experience, but that's just how life is sometimes. When it comes to the Taiki x Hina ship, it really does remind me as to how I was when I was with the ship between Futaro and Nino and the ship between Hachiman and Yui. These are characters that you wanted them to be a thing, but then you come to realize that there was probably a chance that this was not going to happen. And that's exactly what will happen, as obviously with those other series, they will end up being with other girls as well. And it's really sad to see sometimes, because you want these characters to be happy, but you know deep down that multiple people having similar feelings for that one person, you just know that only one of them can win and the other one has to lose. That's just something that's bound to happen when it comes to these kinds of love situations, and while they may suck, it's also something that can't be avoided when it happens. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Blue Blocks after all this. But for now, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you next time.